Okay, so now let's look at this extrema. Please remember extrema are ordered pairs. So extrema just means extreme. Where are the extreme highs and extreme lows? That's all that is. Extreme highs and extreme lows. All right, here we go. So again, guys, you're reading from left to right. This graph is climbing. It has an increasing behavior, but it has a high turning point right here. It's not the highest, but it's considered a relative high point for that graph. Then it dips back down. That is considered a relative low. And then as we climb back up, this is another relative high. And since the graph goes down forever, this high right here, it has two categories. It's a relative high, but it's also the absolute high because that's as high as the graph is going to get. So let's go ahead and talk about the word relative versus absolute. So for relative, you could have more than one, not always, but you could. Absolute extrema, you're going to have one or none. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So down here underneath, I'm going to start writing the ordered pairs for relative. I'm going to abbreviate because we're kind of short on space here. Relative minimums. All right, so as I look through the graph, I have one relative minimum. And guys, the reason why it's called relative is because if I said, hey, what if I need to look at something in between A and B? If you look at A and B, all I really see is a minimum at this point. If all of this was blocked off, I'd have no idea that the graph went on forever. It almost would look like a parabola. So that's why it's called relative. You have a relative minimum right here. You have a relative maximum in two places. The one that has the star on it, also that relative high that we had right here. And then absolutes. Let's talk about absolutes. Do you have an absolute minimum value? No, you don't, because it goes down forever. So for absolute minimum, we're going to write none. But for absolute maximum, we absolutely have an absolute maximum. It's right here. All right, so if you look at this graph, it kind of looks like it's been reflected upside down according to that. But if you notice, this goes up forever. Of course, when they go up forever, there's no such thing as an absolute maximum. So I can go ahead and write for absolute maximum, there's none. But for absolute minimum, absolutely. The absolute minimum is right here. And I'm just going to say that if this has an ordered pair, there's an x value of b and a y value of f of b. That's still x and y inputs, guys. It's just function notation. Also remember you have two relative minimums. And again, I'm just going to color code those because we don't have a lot of space here. Your relative minimums are what I highlighted in yellow, guys. And you also have a relative maximum. Your relative max is going to be right here, and I'll just kind of denote this in orange. So it's kind of in between A and B. And that is how you identify maximums and minimums.